Kashrus Anytime is brought to you by the Kosher Consumers Union, a 501c3 organization located in Lakewood, New Jersey. The administrator is Yehuda Shane. When Abshnei Kotler, the Yeshiva Beis Medrash Gavoya of Lakewood, took me, Yehuda Shane, to be in charge of the Yeshiva's Kashrus, he told me I should make my own inquiries, my own decisions, and ask my shilos to whoever I want, and not necessarily to the Yeshiva's poskim. The reason he told me is because I have a very different look, which he called it an under the cook, than others, and since Seif bist du gerecht. On one of my visits to Reb Shmuel Vosner in Bnei Brak, he asked me by wem hast du gelernt. I said I learned by Asach. I asked why is he asking. He said, ich ken alle Rosh Yeshivas Mahalchem. Ihr seid ein ganzen an andere cook, an andere the hair. I asked if anything wrong with my look or the hair of things, because I've discussed many issues with him. He said, no, not at all. I enjoy it very much. But I wanted to know by who you learned where you got this mahalach. And he told me whenever I come to the Bezdin Shtib, tell them that I said you should come into me, weil sie wollen euch bechlall nicht verstehen, was ihr fragt. Reb Nata Kazelwitz Olav Shalom once said, an organization formed for illegitimate purposes can only produce illegitimate results. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, as quoted by Rabbi Bunim, Rabbi Aaron Kotler said the following: the truth must be heard even if the public doesn't like the sound of it. Whatever the circumstances, regardless of the consequences, the truth must be stated loudly, clearly, and unequivocally. In Lakewood, a number of years ago, there was somebody that set up a kashrus organization, which he was not in the good spirits with the upper echelon over here in the yeshiva. So they ordered one of the askanim in town to please set up immediately, by this week, set up another kashrus organization. It wasn't for the purpose of kashrus, it was for the purpose of making sure that the other one doesn't get a foothold over here in Lakewood. There was an article that appeared in the Kashrus magazine called Catering Standards Questioned. I made some additions to it in order to be able to explain it with some clarification. And now I'm quoting from them with some of my additions. Invited to an affair under the supervision of Lakewood Yeshiva's Kosher Council Lakewood, aka KCL, an established hashgacha, but which was being held in a non-kosher facility. We went into the kitchen to look around and to compare notes with the mashgiach. We were not prepared for what we found. More disappointing was it to learn that the Rabbanim who certified the KCL never visited any of their certified establishments. The affair under their certification, which was being held in a non-kosher facility. Kashrus recently discovered a number of such organizations where the Rabbanim themselves have never seen the operation which they certify, but instead rely totally on the head mashgiach or on their kashrus administrator to make all decisions, including halachic decisions. This letter, basically unchanged, was mailed to all of the Rabbanim in the Lakewood Yeshiva's KCL kashrus organization. As of our printing, we have not received any reply. By the way, this was also sent off to all the Rosh Yeshivas, etc. Dear Rabbi X, we would be remiss if we do not report to you directly just what we observed of the procedures used at an affair supervised by your hashgacha organization, which was held in a non-kosher establishment. At a recent affair where we were guests, we went into the kitchen with another rabbi. Having been shown around by the mashgiach on duty, we had the following concerns, which we hope you will address. Number 1. The non-kosher facility was allowed to leave their non-kosher utensils out in open view of the waiters and kitchen staff. By utensils, we mean ladles used to serve soup, eating utensils, etc. Needless to say, with a little preparation, these could have been kept out of sight of the non-Jewish staff so as not to tempt them to use them when they need it. The mashgiach said to us, I'll give you $100 if you could find a non-kosher utensil on the floor in the ballroom. The mashgiach himself goes into the ballroom floor from time to time to check if utensils are mistakenly used. This means that the possibility does exist. If not, he wouldn't be going in. It also means that he's not constantly in the kitchen. Then why leave the utensils out at all for the staff or anybody to get a hold of? We understand from your head mashgiach that he had advised the mashgiach on duty to allow the eating utensils to remain in hand reach but covered. Instead, the mashgiach put them 8 feet away, completely uncovered. Why should this be allowed? It's just inviting trouble. We also observed some 6 to 8 non-kosher ladles hanging in full view. It takes a worker seconds to grab one and put it into the soup. See also number 5 that no ladles, even from the kosher caterer, will marked in any way if it's milchitz, it's parv, or it's fleischiks. This is one of the reasons why accidentally non-kosher utensils sometimes, rather too often, get taken back in error from a sphere held in a non-kosher facility. It's all too common. Since A. The affair was fairly large, 500 plus guests, B. The mashgiach does leave the kitchen to check the floor of the ballroom, as well as for personal needs, and C. Non-kosher equipment is in full hand reach of the staff, I feel that such an affair requires two mashgiachim, not just one. See number 6. Number 3. The mashgiach allowed the waiters to use the non-kosher uncovered trays for serving hot foods. This is not an accepted procedure or practice anywhere as far as we know. Should a hot piece of chicken fall onto the tray, the waiter would put it back onto the plate and continue. Would that not constitute a serious kashrus problem? 4. Only a part of the kitchen was koshered, quite understandable. However, it seems inappropriate to have different kosher zones spread throughout the kitchen area. Better would be to cover with paper the entire area from the ballroom side until where the kosher food is prepared, not to leave open spaces that are not kosher between where the food is cooked, prepared, and served. It's so easy for a worker to put a hot pot or utensil on the nearest space available. There were places where the mashgiach did not kosher, which we feel do need koshering. Some counter spaces that had raised racks over them. The underside of the raised racks was not koshered nor covered. This presents a zayah problem, zayah vapor, one which kashrus agencies do know to address. It could also be a problem of actual food leftovers because no one even bothered to examine the underside of the racks. See the following paragraph. The mashgiach at the fair told us that indeed this is a problem and he would try to cover the bottoms of the racks in the future. We also noted a pole in the middle of the production area, which we felt should have been koshered, not just washed and or should have been draped with some material. The pots and pot covers do touch this pole while they are hot and with vapor moisture on them. Although mashgiach washed it, he neither koshered nor covered it. Number 6. None of the caterer's ladles were marked for meat. This caterer does both meat and dairy at his commissary. We were told by your head mashgiach that since there are so few dairy ones, only the dairy utensils are marked. But that causes a problem because what happens is if the guy took a non-kosher one, you wouldn't even be able to know the difference if it's a kosher one or not if you don't have yours marked. Although the Shulchan Aruch advises marking one type of utensil, the common procedure today, wherever we observed, is to mark both dairy and meat serving utensils, especially if catering in outside and non-kosher facilities and paint does wear off. We must be able to distinguish between the caterer's kosher utensils and the facility's non-kosher utensils. Number 7. While we were waiting, we saw some of the staff go to another room to eat non-kosher pizza. They bring the boxes into the kitchen and then resume serving with no washing of hands between eating the non-kosher pizza and serving glatt kosher meat dinner. The mashgiach did not realize it and did not respond until the problem was pointed out to him. Then he asked only 1 or 2 workers to wash. This is an additional reason why we feel the fair needs another mashgiach. We hope that these issues have already been raised to the Rabbanim of your organization, and the Rabbanim consider the present methods, previous methods unacceptable, and the present methods of instituted acceptable. I would like to understand where my reasoning is faulty. It's for this reason that I'm sending this letter to the Rabbanim certifying the kashrus the kashrus organization. I would appreciate either a written or oral response. Update: we never received any response or acknowledgement from the Rabbanim at the organization. Yours truly, editor of Kashrus Magazine. In, in other words, which I'm adding, every agency, organization, and individual out there giving Hashgacha should be doing a proper job. Unfortunately, many are not, even to the point that one cannot eat at establishments that they certify or eat the products that they certify unless this kashrus system is independently verified. The reasons vary: lack of experience in kashrus systems, lack of management skills, lack of budget, lack of community's willingness to properly fund a top notch, even halachically acceptable kashrus program, misplaced compassion towards unqualified staff, turf wars, negligence, and sometimes even avarice and the lack of Yirah Shamayim. Underperformance, even in bastions of holiness, does not make it more acceptable to do a substandard job, but it allows us to be more kind in considering that a deficient agency, organization, or individual is not a standout but one of many. But the consequences are the same. A community unknowingly eats that which is halachically prohibited, and the community are left with no good options and are frowned upon by the unknowing, especially so when there is only one kashrus organization in town. Now let me quote from Reb Shimon Schwab, Olav Shalom. Learn how to withstand animosity and to weather unpopularity and carry on the struggle to uphold Hashem's ideals. I would like to read one of the many such letters we received regarding the KCL. I saw the posted letter someone wrote about a Lakewood restaurant. Should I eat there? I decided to pen my own letter on a similar topic about a Lakewood restaurant. A little while back, a schmaltzy Fleischig restaurant opened in Lakewood. The owners were from the upper crust and Hamish type of the Lakewood community. It got off to a very slow start, prices were high, ambience was fair, staff was so-so. I'm not going to address the purpose and damage to the mishpachas of such eateries in a coil town of Lakewood. Wines on the menu can be up to $140 or more per bottle. Eventually, the ambience went up, the prices were steep, fit for out-of-town business people. The staff's tznius was not for any Yid to step into, let alone the Michshel, especially to Bnei Torah. We were sure that the kashrus was up to yeshiva man standards, especially with Lakewood Yeshiva's own Hashgacha agency. We had to stop going even when being invited by friends and business associates. We were still and are still in shock at what goes on in eateries in Lakewood's Koil Shtot. Eventually, we found out that the chef opened up the restaurant and was preparing everything hours before the mashgiach even arrived. We also found out that the system for checking fruits and vegetables for infestation was done by someone that came in on occasion to do the checking. There was always an abundance of fresh vegetables being used, which would have required a qualified individual on a daily basis. Then the Hashgacha gave over to the chef the job of checking the fruits and vegetables and fish to the untrained, unqualified chef. Eventually, we found out that the chef was caught before working in this restaurant of not being a Shomer Shabbos, when he was a chef in some other establishment which was under their Hashgacha. The KCL Hashgacha decided he did tshuva and he can open the restaurant without the mashgiach, and he could even check everything for infestation. The chef is not there anymore, but don't think anything improved. Any other Lakewood restaurants better? We thought it was all a bad dream, but realize it's the sad truth. We will eventually on other podcasts bring you up to date with other things of how kashrus is faring in Lakewood. Kol Tov and Hatzlacha.